All right, so let's go over this concept of how to find out if two lines are perpendicular and two lines are parallel. So I'm just going to draw two line segments here and here. And then I'm going to draw two line segments here and here. All right. So what I essentially want to do, I want to be able to see the values of these lines so that I can find the slopes of these lines. By finding the slopes of these lines, I will be able to see if these lines um, are parallel or perpendicular. And how do we do that? We find the slopes. So the slope of parallel lines are equal, and the slopes of perpendicular lines are negative reciprocals of each other, right? And so, what I mean by negative reciprocal, this is exactly what I mean. So, for perpendicular lines, that means slope 1 is equal to A over B. Slope 2 is equal to negative B over A, right? Now, if they're parallel, that means they're equal. So if we have parallel lines, that means slope 1 is equal to slope 2, right? And we find the slopes by just using the coordinate points, right? So what I have here, I have my M1 from E to F. Let's do E is 1, F is 2. Difference of the Y values first. So we have 7 minus 4 divided by negative 16 minus 19. So we have negative 16 minus a negative 19, right? Negative 19 is going to turn into a positive. So then we have 3 divided by 3, right? Which will give us 1. All right, let's look at slope 2. Slope 2, we're going to do the same thing. This is our 2, this is our 1. So we're going to subtract 7 from 4, and then we're going to subtract negative 14 from a negative 17. These become positive. Top is 3. Bottom is also 3. So indeed, we have parallel lines because our answers here are equal to one another. So line EF and line HG are parallel because their slopes are congruent. All right. So now let's find out if lines K, L, and IJ are perpendicular, right? So this is going to be our 1. This is going to be our 2. This is going to be our 1. This is going to be our 2, right? So JI, 6 minus 3, right? Because we do the difference of the y's first, then the difference of the x. Negative 8 minus negative 10. So we got negative 8 minus negative 10. These become positive. So we have 3 over 2. So if these are truly perpendicular lines, then that means this slope will have to be equal to negative 2 over 3 because they have to be negative reciprocals of one another. In order for it to be negative reciprocals, you have to flip the first fraction and add a negative sign to it, right? All we're doing to say that they're negative reciprocals is to flip the first fraction and add a negative to it, right? So let's go through this process by using the coordinate points to figure out if these are indeed negative reciprocals of one another. So we pay attention to the coordinates of K and L. We're saying that K would be the second point, L will be the first point. So then we would do 6 minus 3 and negative 11 minus negative 7. We see that this 7 becomes positive. Negative 11 plus 7 would give us a negative 4. So in this instance, we're off by a point. They are not perpendicular. All right. So let's do an example where one is perpendicular. All right. So now let's look at these two lines to indeed see, in fact, they are perpendicular. So from N to M, what we have is the difference of the y's will be negative 5 minus a negative 1 and a negative 8 minus a negative 10. These negatives turn positive, so that means we have negative 4 divided by positive 2, which would give us a negative 2, right? We can keep it as this so that we can ensure that we can see the negative reciprocal, or we know the slope is negative 2. All right. Now if we do these lines, we have negative 4 minus negative 6 divided by negative 6 minus negative 10. Now, these two lines would indeed be perpendicular if we have a positive 2 over 4 ratio, which would give us 1/2, right? And so these two numbers become positive. Negative 4 plus a positive 6 will give us a positive 2. Negative 6 plus a positive 10 will give us a positive 4. And indeed, what we have is 1/2. 1/2 is the negative reciprocal of 2. So these two lines are indeed perpendicular. So again, to find out if two lines are parallel, you will find their slopes and show that their slopes are equal, congruent. To find out if two lines are perpendicular, we will find their slopes and to find their slopes to be negative reciprocals of one another. I hope this video found you well and you can understand the concept a little bit better.